Level 1, $4,300. Your phone is buzzing on the kitchen counter for the third time in an hour, and you're standing there staring at it, letting it ring, because you already know exactly who it is and exactly what he's about to ask you. Marcus, your older brother, 2 years older, always the one who talked first at family dinners, always the one your parents bragged about first too, back when that still meant something. You let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it buzzes again with the notification. You press play and hear his voice, tighter than usual, trying too hard to sound casual. Hey, it's me. So, the truck's transmission is basically gone. Guy quoted me $2,100. I'm trying to figure some stuff out. Call me when you get a chance, no rush. There's a rush. You can hear it underneath the no rush. You can hear it in the way his voice cracks slightly on the word figure. You set the phone down and open a different app instead. Your banking app. The number sitting there, quiet and unglamorous, reads $4,300. You stare at it the way you'd stare at something you found and aren't entirely sure you're allowed to keep. Here's what nobody in your family knows. That number exists. Not your parents, not Marcus, not your sister Danielle. You've never lied about it directly. Nobody's ever asked you point blank, how much do you have saved? But you've also never once volunteered it. And 18 months ago, you made a quiet decision that you're only now starting to understand the weight of. The moment a number like this becomes visible in a family, it stops being your money. It becomes a conversation everyone suddenly has an opinion about. You call Marcus back. He picks up on the first ring, which tells you he was staring at his phone, too. Hey, man, he says. So, yeah, transmission's shot. You tell him you can send $500. It's true. It's also less than half of what you could send without feeling it at all. And you both hear the number land a little smaller than either of you expected. That's huge, man. Seriously. I'll get you back by summer. You both know he probably won't. Neither of you says that part out loud. You never do. You hang up and sit at your kitchen table with your laptop open, and you think about how you got here. 18 months ago, at your first real job out of college, logistics coordinator, $43,000 a year, nothing glamorous. You did the one thing nobody in your family had ever really modeled for you on purpose. You set up an automatic transfer. $180 every payday, move before you ever saw it in checking, before rent, before groceries, before anything else got a vote. Your college roommate laughed when you told him. That's like nothing, though. That's not going to do anything for years. He wasn't wrong about the years part. 3 weeks after Marcus's call, your mother Carol mentions at Sunday dinner that Danielle, 21 and still in school, is thinking about opening a Roth IRA because a friend told her about it. Carol waves it off, gentle but dismissive. You've got time for that later, sweetie. Enjoy being young. You sit there with a fork in your hand and $1,800 already sitting quietly in your own Roth, and you say nothing. That's where it starts. Not with a lie. With a silence you didn't decide to keep, you just didn't correct the moment, and once you don't correct the first one, the second one gets easier, and the third one after that stops even feeling like a choice at all. Level 2. $19,600. 3 years past the way years do when nothing looks dramatic from the outside. 2 raises, a promotion. Your salary climbs to $58,000 and your $180 becomes $260, then $310 without a single announcement to anyone. You're 27 when your father Dennis loses his job. 22 years at the same manufacturing plant. a restructuring email on a Tuesday morning, and by that afternoon, he's standing in the driveway holding a cardboard box like 40 other people that week, not saying much, just standing there in the cold with his jaw set. He tells the family he's exploring options. That's the phrase people use when the real sentence is too heavy to say across a dinner table. You find out almost by accident flipping through mail at your parents' house one Sunday that their savings sit around $11,000. You do the math in your head before you can stop yourself. Their mortgage is $1,340 a month. $11,000 covers maybe 8 months if absolutely nothing else goes wrong, and something always goes wrong. You don't announce a plan. You just start quietly routing money into the joint emergency account you already share with your mother, in amounts small enough that she assumes it's coming from your regular paycheck. $1,340. Then again the next month. Then again. 5 months. $6,700 total. Your mother finds out. Not the amount, just the fact of it. One evening in the kitchen, drying a plate, when she says almost offhandedly, "I don't know what we would have done these last few months without a little cushion." She thinks it came from your father's brother who did chip in something small. You don't correct her. It costs you nothing to let her believe that, and it saves you a conversation you're not ready to have. Meanwhile, Marcus leases a truck, $610 a month because a coworker told him it's basically a tax write-off, which it can be technically if you actually understand how write-offs work. He does not. He posts a photo of it in the driveway, hood catching the evening light just right. 19 likes. Your cousin comments, "Let's go." Nobody comments on the fact that a leased truck isn't an asset. It's a bill with a badge on it. You almost say something at Thanksgiving that year. You get as far as opening your mouth, then you watch his face. Proud, a little defensive already, like he's bracing for exactly the comment you're about to make. And you close your mouth instead and pass the potatoes. Your father finds work again 7 months later. Lower pay, longer drive. Steady, though. Nobody in the family ever learns where those 5 mortgage payments actually came from. To this day, your mother tells the story of how we scraped by without you in it at all. You've never corrected that story either. Level 3. $71,400. You're 30. And this is the year the gap between the you your family thinks they know and the you sitting alone at your kitchen table with the spreadsheet open becomes the loneliest part of any of this, lonelier than any dollar amount. Marcus calls again. Bigger this time. He wants to start a landscaping business. A used truck, a trailer of equipment, roughly $14,000 all in. He's done research this time. He has actual quotes. You can hear something different in his voice. Not the usual scramble, but the specific, terrified hope of a person who's finally thought something through and is bracing to be told no anyway. "I know it's a lot," he says. "I wouldn't ask if I had another option." $14,000 is about 19% of what you have. You could send it that night from your phone and never feel the shape of the hole it left in your life. Not a delayed vacation, not a missed goal. Just gone, absorbed, forgotten by March. You don't send it. "Can I come by Saturday?" you ask instead. "Let's just look at the numbers together." He goes quiet for a second, like that wasn't the answer he expected. Better or worse, he's not sure yet. You sit at his kitchen table for 3 hours that Saturday. You find 2 line items in his cost projections that are optimistic in a way that would catch up to him around month 8. insurance he'd underestimated, a fuel cost he'd guessed at instead of calculated. You ask him what happens if the truck breaks down in July, his busiest month. He doesn't have an answer. Nobody had ever asked him that question before. You go back the following Saturday, and the one after that. By the fourth week, Marcus has found a small business loan through a regional credit union, one you helped him locate, co-signed in a way that costs you nothing but a signature and some patience, and restructured the whole plan so he never needs the full $14,000 up front at all. He calls you the day he signs for the truck. There's something in his voice you haven't heard in years, somewhere between disbelief and pride. I couldn't have done this without you, man. You don't tell him what you could have simply handed him instead. That's not modesty. That's an understanding, slowly earned over 3 Saturdays, of what the story actually needed to be. His decisions, his business, his win. Not a check with your name quietly attached to the foundation of it. His business survives its first 18 months at almost double the typical small business survival rate. You never mention that statistic to him. You just watch it happen, quietly proud in a way nobody at any family dinner will ever know about. This is also the year you stop answering the salary question. Honestly, at your cousin's wedding, an aunt you see twice a decade leans in over the appetizer table. So what are you making these days, big shot? You give a number that's technically true and meaningfully lower than reality. She nods, satisfied, moves on to ask about someone else's engagement. She has no idea the real number would have changed the temperature of the entire reception. Level 4, $214,000. You're 33 when your grandmother Ruth needs memory care. Not eventually. Now. The kind of now that arrives on a phone call you take standing in a parking lot, car keys still in your hand. The facility your family finds runs $5,600 a month. Ruth's Social Security and small pension cover barely a third of it. The house she's owned for 40 years is worth maybe $190,000, but it can't be sold quickly. And nobody in the family thought, 5 years earlier, to talk to an elder law attorney about protecting it. Because nobody in the family had ever spoken to an elder law attorney about anything. There's a family meeting, your parents, steady now, but nowhere near able to absorb a gap this size. Marcus, business profitable but young, still reinvesting almost everything it makes back into itself. Danielle, 30 now with 2 kids of her own, offers to take on more of the hands-on caregiving, which everyone at the table quietly understands is its own currency. Just not one anyone writes a number next to. I'll cover the gap, you say. $3,700 a month. Nobody asks how. That's the part that catches in your chest for a second. Nobody asks because somewhere over the last decade, without a single conversation about it, your family decided you're simply the one who handles things. Not because they think you're the richest person in the room, just because you're the one who always seems to have it figured out. You are, in fact, the richest person in that room, by a margin none of them could begin to guess. But that word, richest, has never once been spoken at any table you've sat at with these people. In your family, the richest person isn't the one with the biggest number. It's the one who says yes without a beat of hesitation. For 10 years. Quietly, that's been you. Your grandmother's house key ends up on your key ring that spring, so you can let the estate sale company in while everyone else is at work. It sits there next to your car key and your apartment key, small and ordinary, a piece of metal that represents something none of the people at that family meeting will ever fully understand about what it actually took to get it onto your ring. Level 5, $460,000. You're 34. It's a Tuesday night, and Marcus is on your couch holding a coffee mug he hasn't drunk from yet, turning it slowly in his hands the way people do when they're working up to a question. How would you actually do it? He finally asks. Like, for real, not the truck, not grandma's thing, all of it. How? He doesn't ask for the number. He never has, not once in 10 years, and something about that has always told you more about him than almost anything else. You think about the $180 a paycheck that started this, back when it felt like it would never add up to anything real. You think about 5 months of mortgage payments your mother still doesn't know the source of. You think about 3 Saturdays at a kitchen table instead of a check that would have been so much easier to write and so much less useful to write. You think about a small house key on your ring that nobody in that family will ever ask you about directly. It was never one decision, you tell him. It was a few hundred small ones. On nights nobody was watching. They just kept stacking up until they turned into something none of us saw coming, including me, honestly. He nods slowly. He still doesn't ask the number. Some part of him seems to understand, without needing it explained, that the number was never really the point, and that asking for it now would change something between you that's taken a decade to build carefully, quietly, in the dark. Here's what nobody warns you about being the quiet one in a family like yours. It isn't lonely the way people assume from the outside. Nobody's excluding you. You're not hiding out of shame. It's a different, stranger kind of weight. The specific exhaustion of understanding a situation more clearly than the person actually living it and choosing, again and again, not to make it about the number. You didn't build $460,000 by accident, and you didn't build it by luck. You built it $180 at a time. On paydays nobody else was watching, while your family assumed you were doing fine. Comfortable, getting by, same as everyone else. They were never wrong exactly. You were doing fine. You just never told them how fine, because the second you did, the money would stop being yours to quietly deploy where it actually mattered and start being something every single person at that table had a claim on and an opinion about. Somewhere tonight in some other family's kitchen, someone is opening a banking app for the first time, setting up a transfer for $50 or $100 or whatever they can actually spare, telling absolutely no one, expecting nothing back. Just quietly starting the same 10-year clock you started, without knowing yet everything it will eventually let them carry for the people they love. That's the whole story. Not a windfall, not a secret inheritance. Just one decision, made once, kept quiet for a decade. The only kind of wealth that was ever actually going to matter to the people sitting around your table.